Newbie and I have very strong opinions right now on the MVP market after what we saw this past weekend around the National Football League, an absolutely nuts week. We had 6 teams on bye, but that did not stop the NFL from having some crazy, intense games and some down to the wire, just fantastic football games. But Newbie, talk to me. How was your weekend? And give me a little recap of what went down in not just the betting world, but anything you want to discuss right now quickly.
Yeah, I mean, a little bit another split bag. It's been the theme of the free plays that we've been giving out here on the show. Felt like we had a really nice, valuable spot with the Los Angeles Rams taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers. Just one spotted ball away from at least giving the Rams a shot at the end, but a lot of talk about, the horrible officiating and how can they, miss that spot up. It cost the Rams the game. The bigger takeaway for me for that was, how does the head coach not save a timeout for after the 2-minute warning? Again, you basically get that quasi timeout anyways. So Sean McVay, coaching malpractice. Yes, it was a horrible spot, but that happens all the time, especially on a quick play like that. The bad spots are going to happen, but not having a timeout in your pocket to be able to challenge that's on you, McVay. But regardless, it ends up with a loss. Another win for the Pittsburgh Steelers, who weeks ago I told you this team's schedule sets up to keep them live. And while you could argue maybe they're one of the most luckiest teams out there, all they do is win, 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 no matter what, is what it seems like for the Steelers. Does that end this week as they go and take on the Jags or face off against the Jags? I'm sure we'll be talking about that on Thursday. But the one that I loved, I told you what the best bet was. It was Seattle laying the points against Arizona. It got a little bit dicey there at the end, but Arizona really down the stretch starting to show the team that we thought they were playing itself out. So at Seattle, nice easy cash there. They win by 10. That's what I said. Take it over a field goal. I think they would be right around that 10-point win. So absolutely had that game nailed, and feel like, EP, I got bit by one of those right side losers that we bitched about for way too long on last week's show with that Rams game. But 1-1, we'll take it. Still waiting for that sweep weekend, man.
Yeah, for the Pittsburgh Steelers, at least they're completing some things down the field. A lot more timing on the back shoulder throws. You got Deontay Johnson back in the mix. Fry moves soon. So, like you pointed out last week, and I'm in agreement with you, this team is still somehow ascending, and we know what they could do defensively. So the Pittsburgh Steelers will not be an easy a team to count out for the remainder of this season, of course. And like you said, when the Seattle Seahawks can lose the turnover margin the way they did and have 3 turnovers in the football game and still win by 10, like literally sweat-free in that football game. There was not a second, even when they were losing, when I thought that they were going to lose that football game. Testament to how good the Seahawks are and how finally Arizona's back down to earth. But on my end, the handicap on the Commanders was just completely off. The offensive line injuries are obviously real for the Giants, but Sam Howell, the debate was are the sacks his fault? Are the sacks the offensive line's fault? Through a couple of weeks, it seemed like it was 50-50. But after doing a little bit more of a deep dive, and I literally just saw this tweet, so just good timing. But Sam Howell has taken 20 sacks on plays lasting 3.5 seconds or longer per True Media. Only 2 other QBs have taken 20 or more total sacks. So it just simply put that he's just holding on to the football too long. Eric Bieniemy is not doing many favors, but the Commanders' offense is just not something you want to back against a veteran DC like a Wink Martindale. But then that was really it on terms of the GoldSheet Play newsletter and the site. Again, not the best. A little bit of nonsense going on in Cleveland. And in that Cleveland-Indianapolis game, that was a tough pill to swallow. The Cleveland Browns somehow winning that football game despite not being able to cover a modest 2 points. And have the Denver Broncos, which was a little bit of a helper at the end of the night there. That was a premium play. But looking forward, Newbie, it's a new week, new opportunity to make some new money, but we want to discuss what we saw quickly last night because everyone was talking Brock Purdy. Is he, the next Joe Montana? Is he the next Tom Brady? He makes all the right reads, makes all the right plays. He did so for, I would say, 3 quarters last night, but when push came to shove and it was on Brock Purdy to win the football game, he threw 2 interceptions without a wide receiver in the same zip code of where he threw the football. Talk to me about what you're thinking about this new, because I know you were touting McCaffrey MVP earlier this season. I said, well, you got to give credit to Purdy. He is making the throws and the reads. But right now, man, Purdy, we could put water on all that Purdy stuff, right?
some guff in the comments, kind of being a Purdy detractor early in the year. But for me, Eric, it just comes down to what it has shown when it isn't just all yards after the catch and when he doesn't have a massive lead to play with. He looks like a young quarterback. I'm not saying that he's dog water. I'm not saying that he's horrible and he shouldn't even be starting. I think he's a serviceable game managing quarterback. But all this talk that, look at the stats, look at what he's doing, he's Tom Brady. How many times is this guy just throwing the ball into the flat and Christian McCaffrey's blowing by people? Deebo Samuel eating over the middle. Having him gone was a huge loss for this team. So I just look at what happens in the games when they aren't out to a resounding lead. And he is a pedestrian. He's routinely over the 115, 110 quarterback rating, which is obviously a good mark for him, unless the game is a one-score game. In that game against the Rams, where the Rams get that backdoor covered, still a good quarterback rating, but not this MVP level. It was a 93.1 for him, but didn't pass for a touchdown in that game, only 206 passing. And then you can't ignore what happened the last 2 weeks. And I know you can make the narrative, he was going against PJ Walker, he was going against Kirk Cousins. That's the funny way to look at it. But the reality is he was going against a very strong defense in Cleveland, who, do they look as strong after what Gardner Minshew did to them this past weekend? And then you look at the Minnesota Vikings, it's not like they crazy metrics as well. And as EP just said there, those picks at the end were horrible. They forced balls. They were lollipops tossed up there. And you're looking at a 55.3 quarterback rating in the Cleveland loss, follows that up with an 81.5. And it just seems like the wheels are turning a little bit in his head. He isn't playing just completely free, and it's because he doesn't have a massive lead to cling on to. When the teams aren't scoring points in huge bunches, it just seems like he looks like a young quarterback, and that's because he is a young quarterback. Could Brock Purdy be a fixture in this league in years to come? Sure, but let's pump the brakes on this MV Purdy talk. I think it got a little bit carried away. I think he's coming back down to earth. And also, he's going to have a pretty good defense he's facing off against this week, coming off the bye. So, is it 3 straight weeks in a row that Purdy struggles? If so, it's walking like a duck, it's talking like a duck, and I'm putting the brakes on. And I take no joy in being right in this one. As though, as an Eagles fan, I do take a little bit of joy, Eric.
It's something that we've also discussed. It's like, you could put probably 17 quarterbacks in the San Francisco 49ers situation, and they would succeed with similar, if not better, numbers than Brock Purdy. So that's something to just keep in mind, as while sure he could potentially be like a very average, good to decent NFL starter, that's what we're getting. And we're talking games played. He hasn't even logged a full season yet of games. So, like, obviously the sky could be the limit here, but in terms of being the most valuable player of the National Football League in the year 2023-2024 season, that guy, you could give him the benefit of the doubt from that Cleveland Browns game because of the weather. That's probably the biggest thing. And, of course, that Browns defense, which, while they got bashed last week, every team in the NFL is liable to have at least one. Like, you have your statistics, mean, median, mode. You go with the mode, with the median, not the mode, because the outlier is there that you need to account for, and that's one of those situations. But Brock Purdy now falls to 2-5 against the spread on the road in his career. Not saying that that's oh my God, you got to fade Brock Purdy on the road now, but it is a little bit telling that when he's not in the perfect environment, that he is missing a couple of key pieces, and it's time for him to win the football game. Didn't get a major knock because he is a young player. He is Mr. Irrelevant, didn't have any expectations, but he ain't winning the MVP this season. Let us know below if you think that Purdy has a chance in the comments below. Make sure you like the video. But right now, we are staying away from Brock Purdy, and we're focusing on someone named Lamar Jackson. Now, newbie, what Lamar did on Sunday against this Detroit Lions defense was absolutely astounding. The game was over at the 2-minute warning in the first half, and Lamar put on an absolute clinic. If you've been paying attention to Lamar Jackson, if you follow me on Twitter, at Slime Action on Twitter, you see that, I'm always constantly retweeting Lamar stuff, showing Lamar love. I'm a huge Lamar fan. But just looking at his basic box score numbers, like, without even getting into DVOAs and advanced analytics and things like that, He only has season. Every quarterback's going to make a mistake here and there, throw an interception. He has completed more than 70% of his passes in every single game except one, and that was the Steelers game where you could count probably 6 drops in that matchup entirely. And he is just absolutely lighting the league on fire, making amazing decisions. Still has obviously the ability to run the football. So amazing in the pocket. No game with more than 4 sacks taken because he could just elude and get out of here. What did you see from Lamar Jackson that really impressed you besides the obvious this week, newbie? Because Lamar Jackson at plus 700, maybe the value is probably gone because you could have got a better number earlier in the season, but he is looking like he's not playing at a Pro Bowl level. He's not playing at an All-Pro level. He's playing at an MVP level.
Yeah, and again, I go back to we did these preseason videos where we did, hot takes leading in, and if we had to pick teams for the Super Bowl, and my Super Bowl pick was the Baltimore Ravens, and a lot of it had to do what I expected on the offensive side of the ball. Now, it cost me some tickets early in the year because it still took a little bit of time for this new Todd Monken system to play itself out. But when these receivers are catching balls, man, wow, is that a dynamic offense? And how do you defend them? You want to drop into a zone? You want to go man, try and play a little press? Okay, Lamar Jackson will just gouge you through the middle. You want to leave a QB spy on him? Good luck. There aren't many guys you can use a QB spy that can keep up with that lateral movement and speed to the edge that Lamar Jackson possesses. And you even just look at what he did the last 2 weeks, because I feel like this is when the system has really started playing itself out. And I think that the major turning point was what they did against the Tennessee Titans defense as they were over the pond in London. Dude, he's had 15 incomplete passes in 2 weeks. Like, that's usually just a normal Sunday for a quarterback who's having, around 30 some pass attempts, over 30 pass attempts. He's incompleted only 15 times these last 2 weeks. And the defense is starting to come along as well. So I'm right there with you, man. I don't think at 7-1, I'm going to rush to go bet it. It's just not how I manage my portfolio. But this is a bet on team. This is a bet on quarterback in the prop market. This is a bet on guy in DFS lineups, even if he costs you a little bit. 8.1 yards per attempt. He's stretching the ball downfield. If you even look about his adjusted net yards per attempt, it's around 15 yards per play that he's adding when he throws the ball through the air. And as you mentioned, as long as the dropsies don't come, and you do have Nelson Agholor on the team, so that's always something to worry about. I don't know how you defend this team, because finally, too, they're finally having some resurgence in the backfield with Gus Edwards. It stinks that they lost J.K. Dobbins for the season. How much more dynamic would this team look with him behind there? But Gus Edwards looking serviceable. They rolled Justice Hill through there as well. And then the rushing attack that Lamar Jackson brings. Man, I'll tell you what. This is an early look for me. Tell me the number that I have to lay with the Ravens against the Cardinals, because the Cardinals, that's one team that's going down, and this Ravens team is one team that's shooting up. So, early preview on Thursday, I'm probably going to be back in the Ravens on the road. I think they are just absolutely rolling, and as they head towards their bye, I think they're only going to gain momentum, and I would see them going, complete winning streak into the bye and continuing it afterwards. I'm really impressed with what we're seeing out of Lamar and that team.
Yeah, there's so many great things right now. You could probably tease down Baltimore to a 2. I'm not seeing anything better on the WagerTalk Live odds screen than you can't get a 1.5 there with the teasers. Look at your house rules, but most of them are ties lose. So obviously getting that 2 is the same as 2.5. But if you can get that 1.5, that'd be major, and that's success. But this is only through week 6 from Cleve Analytics' ratings. I don't have exactly uploaded to through week 7 yet, but prior to this week, Lamar is the orchestrator of the number 6 offensive success rate, number 6 offense and third down over expected, the number 14 offense and EPA per play. That is definitely going to be shooting up. And, just being realistic here, not like they beat this amazing Detroit Lions defense. While this defense has played well to start the season, the game against the Bucs, for example, very misleading. They probably should have allowed a couple more points. Baker Mayfield missed some more throws there. And again, we're making a case for Lamar. I'm not here to be a detractor, just trying to take all things considered. But Lamar Jackson is the orchestrator of this team when he has people literally just not dropping the football. He is incredible. Look at PFF grades, 88.4 on play action, 88.0 no play action. He, when pressured, still 79.2%, and that doesn't even include his running, which is an 83.4. His pass is lower because he has that dual threat ability. When he's kept clean, He is a 91.5 PFF grade. He could just absolutely dime. 77.8% completion percentage, 4 touchdowns, 2 picks, of course, interceptions, while can be meaningful. If you're going to make a mistake as a quarterback, you're also going to have situations where a pass is tipped to the line, a receiver drops a ball. We saw Jordan Addison steal an interception and run 60 yards for a touchdown last night in a 49ers game that was nuts. But digression aside, Lamar Jackson, from advanced metrics to box score statistics to the eye test, is looking like MVP Lamar. And just also another thing is his ability to not take hits, or big hits, I should say. Obviously, he gets tackled, but to slide, to alleviate some of that contact, to hopefully keep his health in check is absolutely paramount. And like you said, the Baltimore Ravens could certainly be a great teaser leg this weekend on the road. And a team to potentially tease them with would be the Buffalo Bills. And this is a matchup we have going on Thursday Night Football that Newbie and I are going to get into right this second. I did a pretty big deep dive into this game. Newbie looked at some props as prop lines started trickling in to help get you guys some actionable info. You have an 8-point spread, 8.5-point spread. So obviously saying that you like the Bills money liner and a teaser is not a hot take by any means. But what are your initial thoughts here, Newbie? Because I have a couple of tidbits and notes to go over in this game.
Yeah, as far as Thursday Night Football goes, man, this is a spot that nobody circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills. Well, damn, they need to circle the wagons quick, because it's starting to feel like a little bit of a free fall mode here for the Bills. I mean, I know it was a common opponent. I know that the Patriots had, that added motivation getting Belichick their 300 in, but it was a matchup that the Buffalo Bills had dominated heading into Sunday. And then not only did they not cover the teaser down, they lose the game outright. And that was following a really poor performance. So you're just starting to really have some doubts this team, and maybe some of the things that we were worried about coming into the year that we thought were assuaged early on in the year coming to fruition. But as far as that being the macro view, the micro view of how to bet this game for me, I think if you do think the Bills are in a bounce back mode, they do have to be a teaser leg here. I mean, a total of 42, you get them under a field goal. It kind of makes me scratch my head a little bit that they don't put this thing at 9 or 9.5 for a little bit of teaser protection, because I don't know any teaser better that isn't going to be taking the Bills down against the Buccaneers team that, just lost at home to Desmond Ridder and was able to make him look very decent in that game, getting the plays when he needed them to happen despite the turnovers that were forced. So I'm looking to hearing your thoughts on this one, but the no-brainer for me is that 2.5. Taking them down. Maybe I pair that. Ravens is a nice spot as far as the total goes, but you don't really like teasing down road favorites. So that's one thing that gives me a little bit of pause there. The other leg that I was looking at was taking the Chiefs down against the Broncos, but that again fits that mold of not really wanting to tease the road favorite down. So it's going to be a struggle for me to find who I'm pairing them with. But I think I will maybe do an open teaser leg there. And I do have a player prop to drop in this one, but I want to get your thoughts on it. And maybe we'll end with that.
Yeah, yes, sir. So I'm completely in agreement with you right now in terms of this being just the absolute definition of like a bounce back spot for the Buffalo Bills. I don't downgrade Buffalo too much or honestly whatsoever from their loss against the Patriots. So I've gone over this game twice already. Once in writing the newsletter yesterday for the GoldSheet, and once this morning to do a more deep dive and take a look at some props. But you can't and storylines in the NFL. Obviously, it's square to be betting trends and blindly betting situations, but like there are certain things that you can't ignore. The fact that the Buffalo Bills have absolutely steamrolled the Patriots consistently. Finally, everybody is like, Mac Jones is the worst quarterback ever. They need to be benched. And Bill Belichick has been hunting for a 300th win for the last couple of weeks, are now all into one situation. It's really not that shocking that the Patriots, definitely shocking that they won, but the fact that they were within this ball game and we're looking to cover the 8.5, not really shocking whatsoever. Adding on to the fact that this is without Matt Milano now, who is one of the most, if not the most underrated, important defensive pieces in football, and obviously Trey White, one of the better cornerbacks in football. But breaking down the game books here that I did first of all, I'm not going to go into too much detail, but Buffalo, they had a situation where they were looking to score. They missed a big field goal in this game, and the version that they missed early on 4th down. And they also recovered a fumble to score and take the lead. So they also had a touchdown or a sack fumble from Mac Jones that they would have converted, nullified by like a defensive pass, not interference, but illegal contact or something like that. So this game could have easily went the other way. Other side, Tampa Bay, the Falcons fumbled 3 times within the Buccaneers territory in the red zone twice, literally at the 1 yard line, once for a touchback. So this game could have easily been more lopsided. But from a prop perspective, and why I think that this is a matchup that the Bills should really be a bounce spot here is, first of all, Baker Mayfield as an underdog of more than a touchdown on the road, 1-9 in his career straight up in that situation, and 6 and under. But the Bills have a great situation in terms of the defense the Buccaneers play. The Buccaneers are the second heaviest zone defense team in the NFL so far this season. And the Buffalo Bills have two guys in Dalton Kincaid and Gabriel Davis who are absolutely great against the zone defense. Dalton Kincaid actually has gotten 20 targets and completed 20 receptions against zone coverage so far this season. And Gabe Davis is the second most targeted Buffalo Bill in terms of target percentage against the zone defenses for Buffalo. So you have a team in the Buccaneers that are one of the worst teams in allowing explosive plays in the passing game. They let Scotty Miller have a 40-yard game. They let up, I think, two 40-plus yard plays, one 39-yard play in this situation. They got their big dogs, Godwin and Evans, were able to get those big plays, but defensively they allowed them. So I'm eyeing Dalton Kincaid, especially with Dawson Knox now on the – I mean, I don't know if they IR'd him, but he's getting surgery. I already played this newbie, Dalton Kincaid, over. I want to say I got 33.5 receiving yards. I want to double check that line. It might have been different, but that's where I'm looking for this game, newbie. What about you?
Man, you take the words out of my mouth, and I think this is going to probably be the most bet prop in this game because the news continues to come out about Dawson Knox. Nobody's going to be looking to bet Dalton Kincaid under, and I'm glad to know that you got the nice CLV trophy because I think we can still grab a CLV trophy at 36.5 for Dalton Kincaid over his receiving yards. And it makes a lot of sense. If you even just look at what Dalton Kincaid has done, you know, he was the guy after Dawson Knox's injury, 75 yards last week on 8 catches against the Patriots. And then if you even look about what he did earlier in this year when he was fighting for time with Dawson Knox, he got 19 yards against the Jags, 27 against the Dolphins, went over this number against the Raiders, even with Dawson Knox in the game, 5 targets for 43. And then I look at the matchup. I don't just like looking at the player. I like looking at the matchup, and this is a Buccaneers team that not only does Dalton Kincaid eat against zone, this Buccaneers team loves giving up points to the tight end. I mean, Vikings tight end against the Buccaneers, 11 catches, 67 yards. Bears, 4 catches on 8 targets, 38 yards. That would go over the posted number. Against the Eagles, 9 targets, 6 catches, 47 yards. Against the Falcons, 6 catches, 74 yards last week, and even against the Lions the week prior, 5 catches, 43 yards. All of those instances would go over, and he's the only tight end that they're going to be targeting there in Buffalo. The lone game that went under for the tight end was against the Saints, and we know that the Saints, they like doing a little bit of things different with Tyreek Hill, with the player that they roll in there, and it's just not your typical tight end that you see playing there with the Saints. So I think this makes a heck of a lot of sense. It's square. A lot of people are going to be on it. That doesn't mean that it can't cash. Grab it at 36.5 because it's only going higher. This is a nice big play for me on Thursday night. I like it quite a bit. Dalton Kincaid over the receiving yards.
Yeah, I'm actually still seeing 33.5 at FanDuel. So if you can get there, obviously bet the over at
walk
FanDuel.
Across town and bet it at FanDuel then. That's for sure. Every yard matters in the prop market.
Oh, of course. And this is, like you said, I think it has the potential to be a very heavily bet prop, but like there are some situations where the matchup just dictates what you have to do, right? Like obviously Levante David is a great linebacker, and generally that's why the Buccaneers can be decent against tight ends. But if, like you just mentioned, the outline, the number I was looking at, like it's like Hawkinson, for example, he just barely went over the number, but he still had 8 receptions in that game. Like there's still Dalton Kincaid. He's kind of brought in to be that like more of a slot wide receiver sense, but a tight end. So I think he is going to be a great benefactor of the targets we saw for the first time last game against the Patriots, where he had his best game as a rookie. And also, I wanted to just go Stephon Diggs. Like obviously it's square and in prime time, should definitely be looking
the bounce back
more unders here. But the number is so high, dude. It was like 89.5, I think, I post. And at that point, you'd rather – that's something, too, like, quick digression. Like, you have to look at the number. Like, the matchup can be amazing. Like, if Dalton Kincaid came out with an opening line of 44.5, despite loving everything in terms of the metrics and matchup, I can't bet it at 44.5. My number had 40, so I saw 33.5. I bet the 33.5. If it was 40.5, even though I like it in theory, it's off the buy point. So just some game to consider there. I would also look at Gabe Davis in this situation. Josh Allen has been pretty bad throwing the ball deep down the middle of the field so far this season.
Yeah.
4 interceptions, no touchdowns, low rating, but historically does do well there. So I'm thinking there should be some positive regression in that sense. Buccaneers are very susceptible to the big play deep down the middle, and Gabe Davis is that home run hitter. Hasn't hit many, if any, this season, but I don't think that that's just for lack of fun or whatever. That is his game. Josh Allen does have that golden arm. I didn't hear anything about weather so far. I think it's actually supposed to be beautiful on the East Coast this upcoming weekend and starting on Thursday. So don't think there's a concern there. Then another reason, final point, why I think the Buffalo Bills just win the game. If you want to get into some trends, because I know people like to hear it, not anything totally actionable, but just to keep in mind, Josh Allen as a home favorite, 18, 15, and 2 against the number, but an 83% win percentage. As a touchdown plus favorite, he's only 4-3 against the spread, but he's 6-1 straight up, and the team total for Buffalo is 5-2 to the over. Then looking on the other hand, Tampa Bay, Todd Bowles just as the head coach, 15-28 against the number on the road. As an underdog, 10-16-2 against the spread, and as a TD plus underdog on the road, doesn't get much better, 2-4-1 against the number. Then you have Baker Mayfield as a road underdog, 1-9 straight up, as I mentioned there earlier. So not saying to make the big bets based on any of that, but you have a Buffalo Bills team that's going to number one in pressure rate in the NFL, should be getting Ed Oliver and hopefully Jones or other DT back. They should be able to get after Mayfield, and Mayfield under pressure, not a good situation. Mayfield and Todd Bowles, terrible coach as a road underdog, not a great situation. I love the matchup for Buffalo. Tough number to lay, but Survivor and Teaser certainly alive. And then Kincaid and Davis props are on my radar.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with you there, man. And I think this is also, when you're watching this, whether it's Tuesday evening, whether it's Wednesday, this is like a run, don't walk if you want to put the Bills into a teaser. This thing is going to close 9. It wouldn't shock me after public starts betting it too if we see 9.5 at closing. So if you want, the way that the teaser makes sense is if you get it under the 3 points. And it wouldn't also make sense, I don't think, if you're able to bet it now to even do a 6.5 point teaser, because there isn't much to look at elsewhere. So get that 6 point teaser if you want it. Get it in now. Get under the field goal. I think that's a great bet. But the double best bet, I think the first time we've ever had one of those, Dalton Kincaid over his receiving yards total, and it's only going higher, folks. So let's cash our first double best bet here at the Gold Sheet season. You want it? Hop below in the comments and let us know if you're riding. We want to hear it. Or what's your best bet? We want to know for Thursday Night Football. Yeah,
let us know if you think Buffalo is on upset watch this weekend, and if Tampa Bay can take it, give us a like and let us know Kincaid look, or if you want to fade Kincaid. And to your point, Newbie, this number was 7.5 yesterday. Boom, dropped to 8.5. I don't know if a group released it or who moved the market there, but I was staring at the WagerTalk Live odds screen, going about my business, seeing a 7.5. I blink, it's 9 at circa. Went 9 across the board, went back down to 8.5. But indication that there is some sharp action going on the Buffalo side, at least at that early number of 7. But thank you, everybody, for tuning in. It was another fantastic show. I love going over some stuff with Newbie. Let us know again in the comments who you think is the front runner for MVP. Not the odds-on favorites, but who you think is going to be the MVP. Let us know below. Hammer the like button. Gently touch the like button. Hit it normally, the like button. Does not matter how you like the video, but anyway, is great for the channel. We really appreciate it. And we'll be back on Thursday discussing best bets. Full slate with no buy, so Newbie and I will have some actionable information for you guys upcoming on Thursday. We'll see you guys then, and thank you for listening. See you guys next time.